Hello and welcome back. Today's video is going to be 10 reasons not to buy an eyeshadow palette. I am really trying to focus on smart consumerism and not to buy things just to buy things. I have definitely fallen for some of these things in some palette purchases in the past, and some of these are actually kind of marketing tactics that companies use to get us to buy more makeup or products in general. I really want to buy things I truly love and will use, so I don't want to buy things for the wrong reason, basically. All right, so let's just get into the video. Reason number one is if you only like a few of the shades in the palette. I would say if you only like a few shades, you could look for single eyeshadows, or you could probably find those colors in your collection if you already own quite a few eyeshadow palettes. I have definitely fallen for this in the past, and I would just say probably don't buy a palette unless you like the majority, maybe 90%, maybe even 100% of the shades in it. Reason number two not to buy an eyeshadow palette is just because you love the brand and the formula. And this, I have fallen for this so many times. Colourpop, I love Colourpop and I know I love their formula. I do like this palette. This is the Lilac You a lot, but I could easily buy every single palette from Colourpop. I know I'll like it, but I don't need it. So, try to be selective even if it is a brand you absolutely love. Number three is to complete the series. And I've done this in the past. The Naked palettes are an example, or like the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes. This is the Naked Reloaded, and I do actually really like this one, but there was a point in time where I owned every single Naked palette. And the original Naked palette was one of my favorite palettes quite a long time ago, and then they came out with more, and I just kept buying them and buying them. And over time, I realized that Urban Decay was not even a formula I really loved. I do think this is a better formula than those, personally, but just in general, I was just buying them and buying them because, I had the original and I liked it. Companies definitely use this as a marketing tool. When they see something that sells, they'll keep coming out with products kind of in that line. Like I said, same with the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes, so we should really be aware of this one. Number four is because the packaging is pretty. Oh boy, have I fallen for this. This is really hard. I think that's kind of one of the main reasons I just kind of got into eyeshadow palettes, is because the packaging is so beautiful and it's so fun to open it up and see everything inside. I would say be very aware, only buy a palette if you're going to actually use the eyeshadows inside, not just for the packaging. I'm trying really hard not to do this. I will say though, if the packaging is not appealing to me, I won't be attracted to it, and I probably won't reach for it as much. So I do tend to buy palettes that I do like the packaging, but also like the eyeshadows inside. Number five is definitely something that companies do for marketing purposes, and that is if something is limited edition. If you're afraid of missing out on it and you're not sure at the time that you want to buy it, I say don't buy it unless you really, really want to, because we've seen so many times that palettes have come out as limited edition and then later they come back magically, or something better will come along, So I think if you're on the fence and you're just afraid of missing out, don't do it and just wait. All right, number six is because the palette is on sale. Sales get us. I got this for $12. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette, and I do actually really like this palette. But funny how I wasn't all that interested in it when it was full price, and then when it went on sale for 50% off, suddenly I was interested. Funny how that works, but again, I do like the palette, but this is really hard. I recently saw that the Anastasia and Carly Bible palette went on sale, and I was tempted, and then I realized I didn't want to buy that palette when it was full price, so why buy it just because it's on sale for like $31? Because that's still $31. It's not like it's free. Same goes to makeup that you find at TJ Maxx and Marshall's. If it's something you were already interested in, it looks beautiful, obviously get it. But if you weren't all that interested in it and you're just getting it because it's on sale, usually not a great idea. Number seven is definitely one that I have done in the past, and that is buying an eyeshadow palette just to recreate a look that somebody did either on YouTube or Instagram. I would say first, if you want to create that look inside your collection. You may have similar eyeshadow shades. And that's the thing about eyeshadow, is even if it slightly swatches differently, I've noticed that so many of them on the eye don't look that different. So 9 out of 10 times you probably have similar colors. You know, in the example of, let's say someone created a beautiful rainbow look, you really want to recreate that and you don't even own any colorful eyeshadows. Now that's a different scenario, but again, you don't actually have to buy the palette that person is using. You could buy either single shadows or you could buy a palette with similar colors, you know, by another brand, maybe at a more affordable price. So again, you don't need the exact products that someone has online to recreate the look. You could use what you have or buy something else really entirely that looks similar. I think number 8 is really an important one, and that is if you can't afford the palette or if it's more expensive than you're actually comfortable paying for. I know now, you know, Afterpay and things like that are really, really popular, and you know, it does sound like it's interest-free versus like a credit card, but still, I would be weary of doing something like that if you don't feel comfortable paying the full price of the palette. I would say to probably skip it. A big example is like those Natasha Denona $240 palettes. Even if I were to save up my money, not buy makeup for an entire year, I would still feel really uncomfortable just spending that much on a palette just for myself. I've strongly considered it, and then I just realized that I'm just not okay with, so I just shouldn't do it. So yeah, I would just be wary of the financial aspect. Personally, I just don't think it's worth going into debt over makeup, and those Afterpay things, you know, be wary of that. I think every once in a while that may be okay to do, but I really would say not to be doing that on a regular basis. All right, number 9 is if you are buying a backup of a palette you already have. I would be wary of doing this. I have seen people do this. You know, if you have, obviously I'm not bashing you, but it takes a lot to completely finish a palette. I would say wait until you actually finish that palette and then see if you want to repurchase it, because by the time that comes, you may not want that palette anymore. There may be newer things on the market that you're interested in. You know, there may be other palettes in your collection that you've fallen in love with. You know, I know in the case of like limited edition, this could be really difficult if something is your favorite eyeshadow palette. You know, it's limited edition, it is going away, you know, that's kind of a difficult scenario. But I think especially if you own a lot of palettes like I do, I would say just be very wary of buying a backup. Kind of makeup backups in general, I would be wary of. Basic things that I run through quickly, like brow gel and, you know, maybe mascara, I have bought backups of in the past, but something like an eyeshadow palette that takes a very long time to finish, I would be careful with that. All right, last up, number 10 is buying a palette just to support a YouTuber collab. And this is a comment I've seen a lot on different, like on Trend Mood, where they post new makeup releases. I saw a lot of people when the new Jaclyn Hill palette came out, people were saying, well, you know, I would never wear these colors, but I really want to support her, so I'm gonna buy the palette. I guess I would be wary of doing that because, first of all, if someone is at the level of getting a brand collab or owning their own makeup line, they probably have a whole lot of money. I mean, honestly, some of these bigger YouTubers, they're millionaires. They really don't need our $35. And I think if you really just want to support someone, I think watching their channel, subscribing to their channel, commenting, you know, I think that that's enough. I think if you don't think you'd actually use the product, personally, I wouldn't do it because they don't really need the money. I will say I've actually almost done this when Angelica, she is a smaller YouTuber, so I wanted to support her. She had a makeup brush collab with Sigma. And even though I was not in the market for makeup brushes, I was really close to purchasing that. And then I realized, okay, that is a really bad idea. And it sold out anyway. You know, a smaller YouTuber like that, their collabs often do sell out. So if you're not actually interested in the product, I would say don't do it. Alrighty, that is it for this video. I guess, you know, I need to remember these things because I've definitely bought palettes and makeup products in general, sometimes for not so great reasons. If you have some other not so great reasons to buy something, let us know in the comments. That is it, and thank you so much for watching.